recruited and built it to a team of 50. And we became the #1 office in the country. But life will teach you, when you believe you're on top of the hills, how fragile life is. By my 7th year, I retired and I started Midas Wealth, named after my son, Midas. I'll share with you all my story, all my journey to take you to the next level. A little background, I've spoke on stage all around the country and world. I spoke at New York University, Columbia, Harvard Medicine. This is a little bit about my accolades and background. This is our team. So when I meet clients, I always introduce my team. In fact, I emphasize that the 11 men and women on my team, they're all way smarter than me. I'm only great at one specific area, while each and every one of them have their own unique superpower. When I meet a client, I introduce our team to them as a family office. I explain that in today's modern society, the most successful people, they don't work with an accountant at an accounting firm. They don't work with an advisor at a bank. The most successful people in the world, they hire an in-house family office, which is why at Midas Wealth, we are a family office. To high net worth, ultra high net worth families, we help them with savings, investments, retirement planning, and creative ways of minimizing their taxes. 17 years ago, I aspired to build a firm where it costs me millions of dollars a year, but everyday people can have access to our team at a fraction of that cost, and we help them with every financial decision making in their lives. And I'm most proud of our team. People ask me, what have we done that differentiates us from other organizations? So Forbes has ranked our firm top 100 in the country, top 10 in New York State. And what I always emphasize is our focus is always clients first. To be a fiduciary to help your clients, that's when you can all win. But this is my journey, the most important lessons I'll share with all of you. Confucius says, we have 2 lives. The second one begins when we realize we have one. My journey starts back in 1970s when my parents migrated from Guangzhou, China to the United States. They left their country to come to America to build and create a better life. They left all their friends, did not speak a word of English, so that they can build a better future for me and their future generations. In 1985, they had me, their one and only child. Growing up, my parents were really hardworking, but we were poor. My father was a chef. My mom, she was a cashier at a supermarket. They used to work 7 days a week. I never saw my parents. In fact, I was raised by my grandparents. Many of you in this room are nodding. I am sure some of you also have experienced the same. But the very little time I had with my parents, they always emphasized the importance of hard work and studies. Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, I would go to school. Monday through Friday, regular school. Saturday, Chinese school. Sunday, I would go to test prep and after school programs. However, growing up, my parents said, in life, there are 3 occupations to be successful. They said, son, when you grow up, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And for all my friends in the back, you're right, engineer. We're all Asians. We all heard of this. But I failed them. In fact, when I was younger, I realized my superpower was math. But it was never math. Because in school, although I took AP Calculus, I never used it in everyday life. My true superpower is problem solving. And when I went to college, I fell in love with finance. And in 2007, I interviewed for financial careers. I remember in 2007, I interviewed for 7 companies. And as I was interviewing for these companies, I asked my classmates and my friends what profession to pursue in finance. And many of them said the best profession was investment banking. So in 2007, after interviewing so many companies, I was fortunate to have an opportunity to work at an investment bank. But it was my last interview with a financial planning company to be a financial advisor and consultant that I chose to go to that interview. Because I always remember from my parents, in life, never leave any opportunity window available. I remember going to that last interview. The managing director said, Rick, what type of career are you interested in? I said, I want to be an investment banker. They said, do you understand the similarities from investment banking and financial advising? I said, no. Investment bankers help big companies, big corporations make lots of money. Financial planners, financial advisors, and consultants help people make lots of money. Which one do you believe you're more passionate about? I said, I want to help people. He then said, excellent. In fact, in America, did you know that amongst Asians, we are always hardworking, great savers, but we have the highest poverty rate? And I said, I did not know that. Why is that? It's because your community, although they work hard and they save money, they keep it under their mattress and it depreciates. Do you believe you have what it takes to help the Asian people? And I said, I did. So after that interview, I accepted the interview not knowing that this was commission and performance-based. And I went home that night. As I was driving home, I was so excited to tell my parents, my biggest fans, that I am going to start a profession to be a financial advisor. And to my surprise, they said exactly what I thought they would not say. They said, son, are you a goddamn idiot? And I said, Dad, Mom, what do you mean? They said, why would you give up a corporate investment banking job with a stable salary to be a financial advisor consultant and make commissions and not have steady income? And I said to my father, I said, Dad, Mom, I believe this profession is an extremely noble career, and I believe I have what it takes to help the people. But more importantly, I asked my dad a simple question. Because I'm an only child, in Cantonese, I used to grow up and he always say, you always talk joy. You always talk back. So then I just said to my father, I said, Dad, now, over the years, my father became a business owner. I said, Dad, you own a construction company? He's like, yeah. And I said, every day, every week, every month, every year, you go to work. What is your salary? He said, I don't have any. I said, that's right. You go to work with no salary. I'm starting a career with no salary. I just want to grow up and be like you. And he said, okay. You give it 1 year. And if you fail, you will get a real job. I said, okay. So I went into training and I was excited. I was inspired because I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to change the world. But I remember in training, someone asked me, what is my goals, career aspiration? I said, I want to be a managing director, an agency leader, so I can help serve the Asian community. And then they said, it on average takes 20 years. So I told myself, I hope one day I can do it before I'm 40. The truth is, I did it at 25. Remember how small that Rick Hughes used to think. But as soon as I came out of training, I was assigned a leader. The leader was 30 years old. He hit MDRT for the first time. He made 100,000 USD, and he drove my dream car at that time, which is an Acura TL. And I said, leader, you're successful, you're MDRT. How can I be like you? He said, it's simple. In our business, we cold call. So I said, okay, I will cold call. So the first 6 months, every single day, I would cold call. Hundreds and hundreds of dials a day. And after 6 months, I wrote 4 clients when the average advisor was doing 4 clients in 1 month. And after 6 months, I got the dreadful knock at my cubicle. My managing director said, Rick, come to my office. I said, what's wrong? He said, nothing, but I don't think this career is right for you. I said, what do you mean? I've done everything. You've trained me. You've coached me. I believe that I can make in this business. And then he said, unfortunately, this career is not right for everyone. Maybe you should go get another job. But when I asked him, who should I be working with? Who should I be cold calling? The saddest part, he said, you should be working with doctors, lawyers, engineers, which was the exact profession my parents told me to be when I was younger. But I wasn't good enough to work with them. But he said, I will give you 30 days, put you on probation, and after 30 days, you can see if you can turn this career around, and if so, maybe you can stay. So my peers doubted me. My leaders doubted me. And the reason why they doubted me was because they were training and teaching me what worked for them. But what's unique about us is our unique self. I remember going home that day, and I'll share with you my infamous 3 deaths. So physically, I am here, but mentally and emotionally, I've died 3 times at least in my lifetime. So going home that night, I went to my biggest fans, my biggest critics, my parents, and I said, Dad, Mom, I think I'm gonna get fired. I don't think I can succeed in financial advising. So I was hoping my parents, as an only child, will give me exactly what I need to hear, those words of encouragement. And they did. They said, son, you should quit. I said, Dad, Mom, I was hoping for just words of wisdom. Why should I quit? They said, I told you. I told you. Asian people, they believe cash is king and real estate. We don't believe in financial products, insurance, investments. Our people have been doing this for decades. In fact, none of this will work. And I said, Dad, Mom, I have 30 days. If you guys don't believe me, I will start believing in myself. There's a saying, once you die, mentally, you are either reborn and become a new version. I realized my entire life, my peers, my leaders, my parents, my family, all said I was no good. So I had 2 paths. One, listen to them and become the no good version of Rick Q. Or number 2, a fork in the road. I will stop listening to them. And I developed the superpower of talking to myself. You see, most people, when they talk to themselves, they give negative thoughts. I developed a skill of manifestation, words of affirmation. So I started those 30 days. Every single morning, I will brush my teeth for 4 minutes. How I know? I use an electric toothbrush. 2 minutes per time, and then when it shuts off, I brush again. But don't worry, my dentist says I have very good, healthy teeth. So the first 2 minutes when I brush, I'm already saying words of affirmation. Rick Q, you deserve, you belong, you are the best. One day, you'll be MDRT, COT, and TOT. It's just that the world has not known and they're not ready yet. So the first 2 minutes, I'm always saying words of affirmation. Then the next 2 minutes, I'm manifesting the future version of me. Because who inspires me? The future me. So those 30 days, I practiced the importance of self-talk. The next, I realized I have 30 days until my probation ends. So I call this the 26-day challenge. I realized I was cold calling strangers. But what was special about strangers? Nothing. In fact, if some of you are in this room are planning to cold call, the next person to you can also cold call as well. Nothing unique. But I possess something that was unique, my phone book. So I call this the 26-day challenge. Day 1, I'll call all my A's. Day 2, all my B's, C's, D's, EFG to Z. After 26 days, I'll call everyone in my phone book. Now, the reason why some of you cannot hit MDRT, COT, or TOT is simple. It's courage. Many of you fear that phone call. But those 26 days, I told myself, I can listen to everyone and be the loser they think I am. For those 26 days, I'll call everyone in my phone book. Now, if there's a phone number, a name that I'm too scared to call, I can either be afraid and give up, or I can choose to overcome that fear and make the call anyway. So day one, calling my aide. God damn it, it was Anna, my 5th call. That was my ex-girlfriend from high school. I haven't talked to her for so long. Now I started having self-defeated thinking, is saying, oh my God, if I call her, it'll be awkward. But you know what I said to myself? The little Rick on my left and right shoulder, one Rick said, don't call her, you'll embarrass yourself. The other Rick said, do it. Otherwise, you'll never be anyone special in life. So I made the call. And guess what? Today, 17 years later, she's not only my client, her parents are our client, her sister and her family members are our clients. In fact, after I made that call, directly and indirectly, she referred me to over 40 families. Day 2, B, C, D. After 26 days, I want to share with you why I made the call. It was never about getting clients. It was about finding courage to not have fear. I challenge any one of you in this room to do the 26-day challenge. In fact, I've spoke in rooms, thousands and thousands of people, less than 1% actually can fulfill the challenge. They'll start strong, maybe the first few days because they're motivated and inspired. But as they get to the middle of the month, they give up because they're scared. They see that successful uncle, successful auntie, that immediately they give up. But you do the 26-day challenge, I promise you, you'll come out of the challenge a different person. But those 26-day challenge, I realized those 30 days, my first 6 months, I acquired 4 clients. My second, that 30 days, I acquired 10 clients. My leader came to me and said, you were the #1 advisor in the training class. You are off of probation, and you can be here for the rest of the year. The second 6 months, I went from 4 clients to 40 clients. I went from bottom quartile to top 3 in that year. Second year, I became #1. Third year, I became the youngest managing director in the country for this Fortune 500 company. Now in 2010, you will notice something. My 2008 version, my eyes, that smile, was dead. It was soulless. I had no confidence in myself. But 2010 Rick had been rejected hundreds and hundreds of times. You can see the confidence in that version's eyes. In fact, you can instantly see my confidence level went up, which is why my hair spiked up. And then in 2012, I became a managing director. I was the youngest appointed managing director for this company. Now, when you're a managing director, you go to these leadership conferences. And when I went there, I was the only Asian. And at 25 years old, the average managing director was 55 years old, white, male, Caucasian in America. When I got there, I did not feel comfortable. In fact, I met many of my role models, these leaders, and I said to them, wow, one day I wish I could be like you, and I can help the people I want to help. Then, when I built my office, they asked me, where do I want to build it? And you're right, I built it in Chinatown, Manhattan, New York, so I can better serve the Asian community. But I remember at this one conference, I met some of the other leaders. And you know how sometimes at conferences, they have drinks, spirits. And when people drink a little too much drink, they think they're whispering. In fact, they're screaming. And one guy said, that's the new managing director? He looks so young. He looks younger than my son or my daughter. He looks different. He is different. I know they're probably just checking off a box for diversity and inclusion and promoting him. And when I heard that, I had self-defeated thinking. I had imposter syndrome. I didn't think I belonged or deserved. But for many of you that don't know me, I grew up as an only child. I'm an introvert. I had more imaginary friends than real friends. But I realized in order to succeed as a leader, it comes down to recruiting, development, and training. So I had to kill the old version where everyone doubted and become a new version. So I came up with which is what I call the 30 days challenge. So the next 30 days, I used to live in Brooklyn. My office was in Manhattan, and that was a 30-day train ride, 30 minutes train ride. So I said to myself, in order for me to get out of my comfort zone and be a better version, I'm going to do things I fear. do hard things, and become a better version. So those 30 days, I came up with a rule, a game that said I will go in a metro, a train in New York City. I will approach a stranger and get their phone number. And I cannot get off this train until I complete my task. That was my promise to myself. And I will teach all of you, when you make promises to yourself, if you break your own promise, guess what happens? You don't even trust you. How will anyone ever trust you? So those 30 days as a leader, I went on the train. Now, I had 30 minutes, otherwise I would miss my train stop. Now, my first week, I would go up to people, I was scared, I was nervous, and guess what? My first week, I was always late to work. But by my second week, I discovered something. After failing so many times, I realized there was a secret to talking to people. And within my second week, I completed my task in 30 minutes. By my third week, I did it in less than 30 minutes. And by my fourth week, the last week, I did it in less than 10 minutes. Now, many of you are wondering, how did you do it? It's simple. When you first go on a train, a metro, and you try to approach a stranger, you're gonna notice people's eyes. People's eyes is a strong emotion that they cannot stop. And you can tell who's having a great day, who's having a bad day, who is glowing, and who is going to smile at you. The universal language to spark a conversation is smile. So I'll go on a train, and I would just look like that weird Asian boy, smiling. And then sooner or later, I had caught someone else's eyes, and they smiled back. Then I would go up to them, and I would say, hey, that's a beautiful jacket. Are you always on this train? And spark a conversation. And then during that train ride, where there's 20, 25 minutes, and I'm monitoring my time, I say, hey, hopefully this is not a weird question, because if it's weird for you, it's even more weird for me. But you seem like a really good person. I normally don't do this. I will give you my phone number. Hopefully you're not a serial killer. I will give you my phone number, and maybe we can connect sometime on the train and grab a cup of coffee. Is that fair? And when I say I give you my number, guess what I'm doing? I'm not asking for their number. I'm giving my number, and guess what they're doing? Sure, they have to give me their number for me to give them my number. And that's how I got numbers. So those 30 days, not only was I completing the task, I was fearless talking to anyone and everyone. Eventually, some of those people on the train became clients. Some of them I recruited in the business. Unfortunately, they failed. But that's another story. But the point is, how amazing and incredible is it for us to achieve whatever we want to achieve? There are millions of people in your respective country. It comes down to how creative you are. It doesn't matter how much resources we have. It matters how resourceful we are. And because of me practicing those 30 days challenge, the 7 years I was a managing director, I recruited over 120 people, averaging 17 recruits a year, leading the country many times. And all the people that doubted me, one day I stood on stage to teach them to become like us and help change the world. But when you're top of the world, you are always going to be reminded how fragile life is. 5 years after being a managing director, in 2017, we became the #1 office in the country. I was on top of the world. I spoke at MDRT main stage in Orlando, Florida. I remember that year, my wife and I, in 2016, got married. In 2017, she was pregnant with our first child, Midas. When my wife was pregnant, I promised her that after we have children, I would slow down from work. But boy, was that a lie. That as we advance in our career and in our lives, it only gets harder if we choose to. So when I found out my wife was pregnant, I started having anxiety. I started going to office earlier, staying later, because I was reminded growing up by my Asian parents that to be a strong role model and Asian person, you have to provide. So because of that, I call this the minority curse. I would go into office the earliest. I would come home the latest. And guess what? One day, 6 months after my wife was pregnant, her feet was swollen, and she said, "Honey, I don't see you often. I'm very lonely. I wish you would work less." And then the following week, I bought her a puppy because I wanted to stop her loneliness. Now, when I bought her that puppy, it wasn't because of any reason besides I was a coward. Because I realized at that time, if I stayed home like my wife asked me, then who's going to provide for our family? So I hoped that the puppy would actually fulfill her loneliness. But everything happens for a reason. A month later, I coughed blood at work. I had an ulcer. And now I'll share with you my third death. I went home that night and I told my wife, honey, I coughed blood this morning at work. I don't know if I'm going to be okay. She then said, did you go to the hospital? Yes, but the doctor said my results will come out next week. She says, I hope you're okay. And she said exactly what I needed to hear. She said, let's get a divorce. I said, you promised me through thick and thin. Just because I coughed blood and I don't know my future, you're going to divorce me? Why? And she said, it's not because I want to divorce you. It's because you promised me that one day you will slow down for our family. But even while I'm pregnant, you forget your own promises to our family. So if our children is going to grow up without a father, I might as well divorce you now so that they won't have any bad memories of a bad father. So then I said to my wife, honey, you don't understand. I work so hard. I'm the ideal male Asian role model. I come into the office the earliest, stay the latest, and I provide for you and the family. We live in the high rise of Manhattan, and you get to live your best life. What do you mean you want to divorce me? She then said, you always tell me what is it I want, but you never ask me what is it that I truly want. And all I wanted when I married you was you. None of this matters. So then I said, I don't think you understand. If I stop working, who's going to pay for the mortgage? If I stop working, how will we live this lifestyle? And she said, well, if you don't work this hard, it's okay. We'll move home with my parents. We'll live with your parents in the basement. All I needed was you. And I say this because at that moment, my third death was my shackles fell off. I call this the moment of what is unleashed. How many of us in this room, although we have freedom, you don't see it, but I see it as I talk to you, as I look at you. You guys are shackled by chains. Where there's fear, where there's something stopping you from becoming your greatest potential. So I realized those years of being an adult, my 30-something years, my parents never showed me any sign of love. But my wife, in that moment of difficulty, she said, all I needed was you. So all my shackles fell off. And in the following week, I went to the company and I said, I retired. I sold all my equity and I created, in 2018, Midas Wealth, which is named after my son, Midas. Because every time I'm in the office, if I see his name on the wall and it's dark outside, it reminds me to not be in the office and look at his name, but instead go home and play with my son. And in 2018, after starting Midas Wealth, I was scared. I was petrified. When I left agency leader, I lost 70% of my revenue and income, while my wife and I just had a newborn child. But I believed in my son. I believe in our future. And more importantly, I was resentful when it comes to failure. And I was relentless when it comes to helping my family get to our goals. So by 2019, I achieved our best year ever. By 2020, I replenished all the revenue I've lost. By 2020, we hit top of the table. 2021, top of the table, 2x. 2022, 3x top of the table. And last year, 2023, we did 5x TOT. And everything that I lost, replenished and more. Because I share with you, sometimes it's our biggest difficulties and challenges where we're reminded where our best version can be. Your mindset is everything. And I want to teach you all the importance of finding your why versus others' why. So for example, every time I meet a new advisor, I ask them, what is your why? And when they share with me their why, oftentimes I can tell their why is not their why. And you may wonder, why is that, Rick? It's because you need to have a why so powerful that during the deepest, darkest times, it compels you to take action. So here's a good, simple test. We all use our phones the most. If you look at your screen, the background screen of your phone, or the background screen of your neighbor's phone, only if they share with you, that should be your why. I've seen people, when they look at their phones, it's a blank screen. No wonder they can't achieve MDLT. They don't have a reminder of their why. When I see people's phone, they see a beautiful car or a beautiful house. But the problem is, when you get rejected 100 times, that car and that house may not be as important because you're afraid of getting rejected. So when you look at your phone background screen, ask yourself, is that your why? And no matter how difficult, no matter how many times you get rejected, will your why help compel you to take action as you need to? Next is a vision board. It's extremely important for you to draw your vision. I remember when I started my career, I had a vision of one day being married. I had a vision of being a father. I had a vision of building a business, retiring my parents, and everything. I promise you, if you create a vision board that's powerful enough, you need to constantly review this vision board. And more importantly, you need to update that vision board because one day, everything in your vision board will not only just be a vision, it'll be your reality. The third is reading your goals every morning, every night. Have any of you ever watched a movie before you go to bed? And then in your dreams, you're actually dreaming of the movie. Do you know why? Because your subconscious mind is still thinking about what you visually last saw. Which is why, when I was a younger advisor, I would write down my goals. I would write down everything that I promised myself I'll accomplish. I would read it every single morning when I wake up. I would read it every single night before I go to bed, where I took those visions and goals and made them a reality. And then finally, mindset. I believe everyone in this room that haven't achieved their goals, the reason is they don't have the right mindset. Did you know the National Institute of Science in America said that the average person has 7 negative thoughts a minute, hundreds an hour, thousands a day, which is why most people have self-defeated thinking, and they are the biggest reason why they don't achieve their goals. You need to shift your mindset and start thinking positively, like you deserve and belong. I recently was coaching an advisor who was trying to get to top of the table, and I told them to say in front of a mirror, "You are the best." And they said, "But Rick, I know I'm not the best. I'm not even top of the table." It doesn't matter, because you are trying to say what the future looks like. As long as you can conceive and believe, I promise you, you can achieve. So it's changing and shifting your mind to becoming that version of yourself. So today, I will teach you all the 5 C's: courage, clarity, conviction, calling, and consistency. Courage to call anyone. Stop analysis and paralysis. Let me give you a great example. Being an only child, I was shy, awkward, and introverted. In fact, in college, I was the college guy that would have a beer in my hand, it would turn warm, and then the paper on the side would actually start falling off. I never had the courage to approach anyone. But it was because of this career that changed my life. I met my wife 12 years ago at a party. And when I saw her across the room, it was a halo shined at her, like one of those Korean dramas. I promise you, you're going to develop some skills and courage to become the best version of yourself. Next, stop analysis paralysis. Too many advisors overthink things. They think they have to be ready or perfect. No, they just simply need to do it. Once you take action and do things, you can achieve anything. Next is clarity. Clarity includes mastering the products, the process, rinse, and repeat. Let me explain. In order to be the best advisor, you better understand all the products you offer at your company. If you don't understand your products, how can prospects or clients understand your products? But even more importantly, when I meet an advisor, they say, Rick, I understand the products. You know what's the best question a client can ever ask me? Rick, you sound like a great advisor. What do you have? What do you have? And when I show them what I have, and I tell them to put 100,000 USD every year into their premium, and when I show them I put 300,000 a year in mine, they get shocked. Like, wow, why do you put so much? And I say, because this is how much I care and love my family, and this is part of my plan. I don't think you can do 300,000 yet, but you can start small and do 100,000. People will follow you. But if you don't own and master your own products, no one will help you. Next, I strongly encourage you to not only master the products and credentials, but master all the products and the competitions in your country. One of the best things I did when I was a young managing director, I created a study group, but not amongst my peers in my company. I created a study group with other company leaders, and we would share ideas. Now, one thing that we all agreed on is if we ever run into clients or recruits, we will of course never break that promise of going after each other's clients and recruits. But every single month, these other companies, study group members, they would teach me your company products. I would teach them my company products, which is why when they went into competition, they were unstoppable. And when I went into competition against other members of their company, I became unstoppable because I knew other companies' products better than other people at those companies. So create a study group, not only amongst your company, but create a study group with other competitor companies and master their products as well. Understanding the process. Many of you in this room are leaders. Many of you in this room are newer advisors, what I call under 5 years. People want us to see. It's very simple. It's what I call joint work. And I call this the 5-5-5. So when I was a new advisor and I was a managing director, I realized as a new advisor, in order for me to learn the process, I needed a teacher. I wanted to be MDRT, I need to learn from someone that's been there, MDRT. I want to be COT or TOT, I need to do joint work with someone that's TOT. How can I get to a destination if I've never been there or know what it looks like? So therefore, I committed to what is called the 5-5-5. Every single one of you should identify someone that you emulate and you want to be like in your profession. And then the 5-5-5 is, for example, if I wanted to do joint work with Dexter, I would say, Dexter, first 5 cases with Dexter, he's the mentor, and I'm the mentee, I'm just taking down notes. Master it like a sponge. I don't care what the prospect or the client is saying. I care what Dexter is saying. I did so much joint work from the top advisors, I realized what were all of their strengths, and I realized what were all of their weaknesses, and I realized how to take all of it and adapt it to my own style and create my own version. Then the next 5 is to not have your mentor do all the work. You need to participate too. So I would say, hey Dexter, in our next meeting, can I do the approach? You do the fact finder? Can I do the closing? You ask for referrals. We take turns. And as we take turns to build the case and to win the case, I started building my confidence and getting better. But the last 5 is the most important for leaders and new advisors. That last 5 is where you bring your mentor to go with you to cases and have them monitor and watch you. Recently, I coached a COT advisor in Asia, and then I asked them, what is your goal to be TOT? And I said, how many times have you been COT? They said, 10 years. I never got to TOT. So I said, on a scale of 1 through 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being the greatest process, what do you think your process is? He said, 8, 9, or 10. And I said, who actually told you it's 8, 9, or 10? He said, no one. Who has seen your process that is TOT to give you that grade and ranking? No one. So I said, how do you know your process is good? He never knew. He had blinders. So I made him go through his process with me, and within 10 minutes, I realized why he's not TOT. Because the way he asked questions lacked confidence, and he lacked the ability to simplify when it came to explaining to clients what we do. He sounded super smart, but also extremely confusing, and that's why it stopped him from TOT. So the last 5 is the most important. It's for all the new advisors. You better have a leader grade you without helping you. I don't care if you struggle in the meeting. If you're gonna drown, then drink some pool water. It'll make you stronger, right? But then, once your leader said you're good enough, then you can go on your own and fly like a bird. But until you pass the last 5, you're not fully ready. So leaders, go back to your country. Make sure every single advisor you are coaching and training do the 5-5-5. Next is conviction. Your belief needs to be stronger than any rebuttal or rejection. Of course, our clients are going to rebuttal us or reject us. Did you know that statistically, every 10 advisor that is recruited in our industry in America, statistically, 90% do not make it to their 5th year? That's a study that has been researched for decades. So that means when I see a room of 10 people, only 1 will make it to their 5th year. 9 people will not. So you know what that means? We are recruiting and grooming our own competition. Because those 9 people, when they leave the business, do you think they say, oh my God, the insurance financial service industry is the best of the best? Or you think they're gonna say negative things? Negative things. Which is why today, modern society, with the internet, you can see and read everything. And when people meet you, you need to understand they are already skeptical. But if you're ready with rebuttals before they rebuttal you, then you can control the conversation and you can fully understand them. So your belief better be stronger and conviction than any rebuttal or rejection you'll ever receive. 2, focus on what we can control and understand what we cannot control. What can we control? High activity. What can we control? Asking for referrals every single meeting. What can we control? Having the right attitude and following through everything we commit to. What can't we control? If the prospect is a big case or a small case, what can't we control? If a client says yes or no. But as long as you focus on what we can control and stop thinking about what we can't control, this business becomes easier. Calling. And I always want to emphasize that in this world, there are 3 types of people. Did you know 98% of people need motivation? Right? You've heard of this. I need motivation. I need inspiration. Come on, help me so that I can do what I promised to do. Which is why most people, when they say a New Year's resolution, by the 3rd month, they give up already. Now, about 2% of people out there, they don't need motivation. You know what they have? Discipline. Discipline, right? Do any of you need to be motivated this morning to brush your teeth? I hope not. I hope not, right? And the reason why we brush our teeth is not because we wake up and say, I am craving the taste of toothpaste. The reason why we brush our teeth is because since we were younger to adult, we were taught, you gotta brush your teeth in the morning, you gotta brush your teeth at night, and that's exactly a habit, and that's why we become disciplined. And then finally, this is the most difficult to achieve, and that is called obsession. Obsession. Less than 1/10% of the people in this world, from my experience, have what I call obsession. And these are the people that you may have heard of. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality. You think that Michael Jordan is motivated to play basketball, or Kobe Bryant is every morning and stay the latest at practice? No. I don't even think they're disciplined. I think they're obsessive. And how do you tell if someone's obsessive? If you go to TOT one day, you're going to notice what differentiates TOT from COT from NDOT. The people that are TOT, look at them in the eyes. Many of them are obsessive. Not only do they make a promise, they follow through and commit to that promise. Until you get to obsession, sometimes you'll still fall short. Now, to get to obsession, I'll tell you to control your dreams. You need to, every single morning, I challenge you to do hard things. If you start your day every single day doing hard things, then eventually everything else throughout the day only gets easier. So one of my friends were asking me, Rick, I know your routine is to work out every morning. I said, yes, but the goddamn hotel doesn't open your gym until 7 a.m. And I'm awake by like 5 a.m. And I had to show up here by like 8 o'clock. So what did I do? I showed up at 7 a.m. I did my 12K bike ride, sweaty, and I still showed up. Because every single morning, no matter what, I do something hard to challenge myself to become the greatest version. So what are you doing every single day that's difficult? The opposite of growth is comfort. You stay comfortable, you'll never grow. Challenge yourself to be uncomfortable. And then finally, this is plan A, and burn all the other plans because there's no other options. The reason why my first 6 months I failed in this business was simple. As an only child, I always knew that even if I failed, my parents would take me back. There was a moment in my career that was very pivotal. I remember in my 6 months mark, I had 3 meetings on my calendar. 2 of those meetings canceled me the day of. The 3rd meeting, they confirmed, and I went to their home. I took the bus because I was a failing advisor. I didn't have any money to even have a car. I remember ringing their doorbell, and guess what? They shut off their lights and closed their curtains. I knew they were inside, but they did not answer their door because they were trying to avoid me. And that day, I remember taking the bus home, and it was late at night, and then I saw a garbage can, and I saw a half-eaten sandwich. To me, it felt like I was staring at the sandwich for hours. But in reality, I was probably staring at it for 2 minutes. I looked at that sandwich in one of the darkest moments of my early career, and then I manifested me going to the garbage can, taking that sandwich, eating it as a homeless person. And that was the best thing I did to myself early on. Reason being is, my first year, I always had a plan B. If I fail and I was no good, my parents would take care of me. But I realized that if my parents take care of me now, how many more times are they going to take care and save me? And I want to let all of you know, no one is coming to save you. In fact, the sooner you realize no one will save you besides you saving yourself, you become the best, greatest version of yourself. So I started manifesting not my goals and dreams, I started manifesting my nightmares. I said to myself that if I don't change, one day I'll eat food from a garbage. If I don't change, one day when my parents are old, how can I be the son to be strong enough to be the legacy? One day, if I'm married and have kids, how can I provide for them? If I eat that sandwich, then my wife and kids will eat that sandwich too. And then a monster was born. A monster was born. And that's exactly why I'm the way I am. Nothing I do in life is for me. It's for them. It's for others. There's a saying, in life, you can choose to do hard things, or you can have the people you love most live a hard life. And I choose not to ever let someone that believes in me, loves me, count on me, live that hard life. And I'll share with you a quick story. Alexander the Great, many, many years ago, fought the Persians. When he got to Persia, his army, his navy force, realized versus the Persian army navy force, they were outnumbered. And you know what Alexander the Great did? Google this. Check the internet. He burned all the boats. He said to his troops, says, I know you are afraid. I know you are scared. I know you have doubts. But burn all the boats. Because there's only 2 choices. Either we die in a foreign country and never see our family and loved ones, or all our boats are burned. So we're going to win this war, and we're going to take the Persian boats and ships and go back home to our family and loved ones who's waiting for us. After that, call to action, Alexander the Great beat the Persian army, outnumbered them, and became one of the greatest leaders in history. And finally, consistency, creating powerful habits. I need every single one of you to ask yourself, what are you doing on a daily basis that is positive, consistent, and most importantly, powerful as a habit for you to grow in your personal, professional, and career? If you're not practicing powerful habits, which is high activity, repetitive action, and predictable future, you cannot succeed. Now, I share this with all of you. Professional athletes, they win championships not during the championship game. They win championships in practice. Practice. You think Steph Curry, who's a famous National Basketball Association player in the US, when he shoots his shots, he already saw the shot go in because he's practiced thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So for all of you, how many times have you practiced yourself in this business? There's a saying, you spend 10,000 hours to practice in anything, you'll become great. Now think about it. 40 hours a week on average, I tell people to work. 8 hours a day, that should be enough if you learn to not work hard, but to work smart. 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours. I promise you, if you commit to this business for 5 years, there's a famous saying, the first 5 years, you work really, really hard, and you feel like you're underpaid. But the next 35 years, you don't have to work this hard, and you'll be overpaid. And that's why that person said yeah, because that person's at the top of the table. Go ask them for a picture later. And that's why I say to people, are you willing to sacrifice 5 years to not only live a great life for 35 years, but for your children, your grandchildren, and the legacy that maybe one day you're not even here, that they will enjoy? Because I say this, Bill Gates says this quote, we have no choice when we are born in this world to be poor. But when we die, it's our choice if we want to stay poor. And if you also think about this career offers what I call the 3 I's. Income, impact, and independence. Now don't get this wrong. Too many people focus on the wrong I at the wrong time. The first I is impact. You focus on high activity, repetitive action, and predictable future, you will have massive impact. With massive impact comes income. And finally, when you have income, you have independence. Too many advisors, when I meet them, they join this business, they say, I want independence. So they come in the latest, they leave the earliest, and they ask, why do they not achieve MDRT? You need to understand, don't think like an employee and act like an employer. We are all employers in this room. We are all open for business. Do you think my father, when he opened his restaurant, he would come in the latest and close the earliest? No. He worked 7 days a week because he knew that if he didn't work, his family would starve. So it's about consistency. Finally, I'll share with all of you my ideal calendar before I became Midas Small. This used to be my calendar. You'll notice I start my day at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you ask me, Rick, what time do you end your day? I don't know. Depending on what time a client is willing to meet you. 8 o'clock at night? Sure, Rick will be there. 9 o'clock? Sure. Because I was always taught to see everyone. That's the wrong mentality. In fact, I used to always do weekend meetings. And that's exactly why I was burnt out and never spending time with my wife before we had our children. But it's not about working hard, it's about working smart. When I committed to only working 50 hours a week, 5 days a week, I made sure I followed through my commitment. Now what did I do? If you notice my new calendar, this is after. I went from taking my meetings that used to be 90 minutes or 2 hours to shortening it to 1 hour or 30 minutes. I have to say whatever I need to say in 2 hours in less than 1. That's creating better efficiency. Next, I truly believe that clients find maximum value working with us. So I stopped going to see people. I invited to people come see me. So my language is simple. Hi, Alvis. Based on your relationship with Dexter, he said a lot of great things about you, and don't you benefit in meeting us? With that being said, we want to extend you an opportunity to have a meeting in our office. What usually works better, morning or afternoon? And that's it. I invited them to see us, not us go to them. And in today, with today's modern technology, I don't even see people face to face anymore. You'll notice they're all virtual. Zoom, 8 o'clock, first meeting, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 10 meetings booked a day. Now some of you are going to wonder, Rick, when do you have lunch? I don't have lunch. Why not? Don't you need to eat lunch? Now that's the self-defeated thinking society teaches you. In fact, think about millions of years ago when we were cavemen, cavewomen. Do you think cavemen, cavewomen wake up and said, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, time for breakfast. Oh wait, it's 12 o'clock at noon, let's have lunch. Oh wait, it's 6 o'clock, let's gather all the kids and the dinosaurs and let's have dinner. No, they eat when they're hungry. But if you train your body to be efficient, I don't need to eat Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. Because I'm hydrated, I'm having nuts, I eat healthy and clean, so I never get sluggish. But this is my calendar. Monday through Friday, I book 50 meetings on average a week. Saturdays, I take my son to Muay Thai. I spend more time with my son and my daughters than my parents ever spent with me. In fact, my son is 7 years old, my twin daughters are 5. They've been to more countries before than I was even 30. Then I take my kids to school, and then we have family.